Welcome to Mold Guy DIY. In this video, I'm going to take two shelving units I no longer want and turn them into one bigger one that I do. So I have a project in mind in the new year for creating some custom shelves for my own storage space for projects. But my wife was reorganizing her project area and she found two old shelving units that she didn't want anymore. And instead she wanted to have a shelf inside the closet that would be much more useful to her and take up less space in the overall room. I thought that would be a great idea, but instead of creating a whole set of custom shelves, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take those two shelving units apart and just repurpose them as one larger shelving unit? Of course, we could always sell the shelving units that we don't want and use the money to buy materials to make custom shelves. But I thought it would be a lot quicker this way because I don't have to finish the shelf material when it's done. It's already finished. I don't have to re-drill all the shelf pin holes. And it gives me an opportunity to repurpose something and maybe save some of the hardware and other things for future projects down the road. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. I'm starting with two identical Ikea shelving units. These have been in our home for quite a while, used for other things. Here it is open with shelves that can be moved to different positions depending where the pegs are put. First thing I need to do is remove the shelves from the shelving unit. Just as easy as turning them on their side and pulling them straight out. Here are the hinges. You need to move it so that it's away from the hinge. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Next thing I need to do is remove the door. So I'm going to remove the hinges from the door. I could remove the other piece of the hardware, but I'm going to do it right from the part that attaches to the door and remove the rest of it later. Door is removed. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the backing. And on these slap together type units, all you need to do is smack the backing and it will pop out. Those nails really don't hold very tightly into the material, so they pull out pretty easily. Next, I'm going to remove the feet. Most of these things can be put together and taken apart with an Allen key, so that's what I'm doing here. The holes, whoever designed this did not put them in a very convenient location, and with a peg there you can't just spin the foot, but with a little bit of persistence and time, I was able to remove the feet and move on to the next part of the project. Next, I'm going to remove the top and bottom. There are simply 4 more Allen head screws, so we're just going to remove those with the Allen key and then move on. I left one in the top. Even though there's those wooden pegs that are used to hold it together, I didn't want the end falling off before I was ready. And then I flip it around and remove the screws from the other side. Once I have them all out, it'll be easy just to pop it apart. Last step is simply to remove the hinges, so I'm just going to do that and then set those aside for later use. This is the space that I'm using to install the shelves. It's just inside the closet of my wife's craft room, and there's a little access panel there that I'm going to have to work around. First thing I'm going to do is just screw in the one side, which didn't need to be cut down at all. I'm simply going to put it in place on top of the baseboard and screw it into place with a few screws. Now that's done, I'm going to remove the side and just screw in some of these anchors so that it'll be nice and strong and won't be falling out of the wall. Of course, once the shelves are in, there really isn't have much opportunity to move, but I decided to put some in just for the sake of securing the whole thing. Put it back in place, screw in the screws, and now it will be ready for us to cut the rest of the pieces in order to make our custom shelf. Before I start cutting, I just need to measure 14¼ inches. This is from the top of the baseboard to where that access panel is, so I know how much I need to take off. I also need to take some off the top, so I've already made the 14-inch cut, and here I am just taking the top off the other side. And now by doing that, it's going to keep the position the same for both sides of the cabinet, so that the original holes will line up on both sides. If I didn't cut off the bottom and the top, but I just took it all off one side, then all my holes will be misaligned. Now that that's done, I also need to just cut the shelves, which I measured the space in between where my two sides are going to be, and now I'm cutting 22.5-inch shelves. Of course, in your own space, it could be a different dimension. With all the cutting done, I now set that piece in place, and I'm just going to align the holes by setting in a shelf and then using a level to make sure that that shelf is in the proper position and everything is aligned properly. You know, I cut it close, but there's still a little bit of wiggle room, and so I want to make sure that's all right before I secure it to the wall. The level in place, I can now lift it up, check the level position, and screw it in place so that all my holes are lined properly and all my shelves will be level. Just checking the level front and back, make sure that it's right in all positions, and then I can finish securing in that side. I decided not to use the anchors in this case. Now with the shelves placed inside, you can see that it fills the space perfectly and gives me the ability to move the shelves to whatever position my wife would like. And that is the finished project. In the end, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It's probably not quite as nice and custom as it could be if I designed it all from scratch and built it all from raw materials, but it turned out well, it didn't take a lot of time, and it's already finished, so it doesn't have to be painted or lacquered or prepped in any other way. Now my wife just has to fill it up. I hope you found this project interesting. Again, if you are interested in a more custom solution where we build everything from scratch, I'm going to be doing that in a different closet project in the new year. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified so you can see when I finish that project off. Let us know in the comments if you have a suggestion for another video, or let me know how you've repurposed some piece of furniture in your house and used it for something totally different, or maybe the same thing in a different way. Follow me on Twitter or send me an email to brandon@baldguydiy.com. Until next time, in all your DIY projects, don't be afraid to be balder.